When a man is cast out, ignored, betrayed, unseen, his first instinct is to crawl back toward warmth. But fire chosen too quickly burns him to ash. Exile is not punishment. It is the furnace where steel is tempered. Every great wolf first knew the cold bite of abandonment. That emptiness is medicine, though it tastes like poison. In the absence of applause, you begin to hear the echoes of your own footsteps, and they sound like drums of war. The viewer will confront a shift. Silence is not weakness. Silence is welding. Distances he once feared become the grinding stones against which his identity is sharpened. The psychological hook here is brutal clarity. What you once called isolation is simply the battlefield where men are revised. Exile is the first taste of death. A man receives while he still walks. It is the silence after betrayal, the empty chair at the fire where laughter once lived, the heavy weight of footsteps echoing in a room that no longer recognizes you. And in that silence, most men break. They run back. They beg for acceptance. They kneel before familiar warmth even when it burns them raw. But you are not most men. You were thrown into exile so that you might understand what you are made of when no one is watching. Exile strips you down to the skeleton of your soul. It rips away applause. It dissolves soft comfort. It leaves you with nothing but your breath and your rage. And there in that void, something begins to shift. Steel is never born polished. It is dragged through fire, hammered under fists, drowned in cold water, until even its screams are silenced. That is what exile does to the spirit of a man. It hammers him until the shape of a weapon begins to emerge. Do you feel it? The numbness that creeps into your chest? The endless hours where silence becomes louder than any enemy? That numbness is not weakness. It is surgery. It is the skin being cut open so that something harder, sharper, more enduring can be grafted into its place. You must let exile do its work. To flee back to comfort is to flee before the blade has been sharpened. True transformation rides on the back of loneliness. Every wolf you admire has a story you will never hear told by fireside cowards. Each one has known starvation so brutal. He tasted his own blood in the snow. Each one has howled into empty fields with no answer, clawed at frozen earth for scraps until even desperation felt too heavy to carry. That silence, that hunger, is why his eyes glow with cruelty and patience. And you, cast aside, misunderstood, ignored, are already on the path he once walked. Do not mistake absence for defeat. When they turn their backs, when they no longer include your name in their stories, they believe they've buried you. But every burial is just planting for those who know how to rise in shadows. Exile is the soil. You are the seed. What grows will not be the boy they abandoned. It will be something they can no longer name without shaking. The battlefield of exile is invisible. It is not marked with soldiers or banners. It happens in your head, every hour. One part of you whispers, "Go back, beg, surrender." The other part whispers, "Stay still, sharpen, endure." If you listen long enough, one of these voices will die. The question is, which one? Endurance here is your weapon. You must outlast. There is no other rule. He who surrenders early returns as a beggar. He who stays silent, who lets the storms pass while he does not move, becomes the rock against which others break. Look at your scars. They are not evidence of loss. They are inscriptions of survival. Every scar says, "I remained when others fled." Have you ever noticed how time changes memory? In the beginning, when you vanish, they laugh, they mock, they say you're nothing. But time works against them. Weeks stretch the silence. Doubts curl into their gut. By the time months pass, your absence is heavier than your presence ever was. And when years bleed into years, you are no longer forgotten. You are myth. Exile, endured long enough, transforms you into a ghost that stalks their sleep. That is the real furnace. Understand this. Comfort was never going to forge you. Comfort fills men with softness, hollows their bones, makes their eyes cloudy. Only exile puts the blade to the fire. Only exile delivers you into manhood, sharpened, polished, dangerous. Think of all you've lost. Friends who betrayed, family who dismissed, love that died. Good. Let those ashes bury the weaker version of you. Let winter consume him. Only what survives the snow deserves to stand before the throne. When the pain cuts, remember this truth. The pain is proof that fire is working. No weapon screams with joy while it is being forged. It screams because the hammer will not stop striking until something indestructible remains. So hold the silence. Taste the cold. Let the numbness bury itself in your veins until it becomes second skin. Do not seek the fire of approval. Do not beg for recognition. Sit in exile. Endure it. Let every hour bleed you into something harder. This is not punishment. This is purification. And one day, when you return from the furnace, you will not look like the man they once ignored. You will carry the weight of storms in your presence. You will not chase. You will be chased. You will not knock. Doors will open out of fear, and those same mouths that once mocked your silence will tremble at it. Exile is not your end. Exile is the foundry where future kings are smelted. And if you survive it, you will understand a singular truth that cannot be unlearned. You were never abandoned. You were being built. There is a throne only a few ever learned to sit upon. It is not carved from marble. It is not lifted by the cheers of crowds. It does not glitter in the open. This throne is woven from silence, from the spaces you leave behind, from the absence that burns heavier than your presence ever could. Power reveals itself not in endless activity, but in the refusal to chase. Every man learns young the hunger to be seen, to be chosen, to be praised. And every man wastes himself swinging like a sword in every direction, hoping the world will finally recognize the shine of his blade. But the throne of absence is built differently. It demands no noise. It demands restraint. It is the art of withholding. It is the understanding that presence, overused, makes you cheap, and absence, carefully layered, deliberately sharpened, makes you irreplaceable. Do you understand what your silence plants in their minds? It whispers questions they cannot answer. Why has he not returned? Why does he not seek me? Who else now commands his gaze? You do not send them explanations. You do not satisfy their hunger. You let their imagination do the work. And imagination is always more vicious than reality. That is the throne you sit upon, not demanding their obsession, but birthing it in the hollows you leave. Absence is not weakness. Absence is a weapon. It bends the mind, because it multiplies uncertainty. The one who is always available becomes background noise, but the one who vanishes grows larger in memory than in flesh. Kings understood this. Generals too. They would withdraw from the field, not because they feared the battle, but to let the enemy rot in restlessness. It is the same in life. You retreat not in defeat, but in design. And when you return, the silence behind you makes your shadow longer than the tallest banners. Yet most men cannot endure this. They cannot tolerate the unease of being forgotten for a while. They run. There comes a point in every man's life when he must decide if he will beg or endure. Most men choose the first. They beg for attention, beg for validation, beg for a seat at fires where no true warmth exists. They stretch out their hands toward people who never intended to feed them, starving themselves in the process. But there is another path, quieter, lonelier, far more brutal. It is the way of the wolf, and wolves do not beg. They starve before they kneel. You can see this in your own reflection. How many times have you explained yourself? How many times have you bent your spine, lowered your tone, pleaded for someone to see your worth? Did it make them respect you, or did it carve something hollow in your chest? A rot that spread each time you gave away your dignity for crumbs. There is no power in supplication. The man who begs is forgotten the moment he leaves the room. But the man who endures hunger in silence, he is remembered as a threat. The fire of validation is deceptive. It tempts you with warmth, with belonging, with the illusion of comfort. But when you crawl to it, you hand over your power to those who look down on you. They see your dependence. They taste your desperation. And desperation is ugly to all who witness it. A wolf knows this. That is why he sits in the shadows just outside the glow. He feels the cold gnaw at his skin. Yes, he feels the hunger twist in his gut. But he stays there, silent, waiting. His silence is sharper than his teeth. his absence heavier than his presence would ever be at the circle. The truth you must face is brutal. No one respects the man who seeks approval. They respect the man who doesn't need it. To sit at the edge of darkness, refusing to beg, is to claim a power that burns deeper than any fire could. This is not arrogance, it is restraint. It is the refusal to sell yourself in exchange for temporary comfort, and it is the recognition that power only flows toward those who do not bend. Think of every great warrior, every leader, every wolf whose name lives beyond his years. Not one of them earned that weight by explaining themselves to small men. They were feared because they withheld. They sat in silence, while others barked. They guarded their hunger, until it transformed into a weapon. The dog whines at the door, but the wolf waits in the snow until the door opens itself. Which are you becoming? Yes, this path is colder. Yes, you will feel hunger chew through you like a winter without end. But it is this very hunger that makes you dangerous. A starving wolf is not pitied. A starving wolf is feared. Because no one knows when he will strike, or what a creature with nothing left to lose might do. Your refusal to beg creates tension, and tension creates power. So understand this law. Every time you withhold, you grow. Every time you kneel, you shrink. Others may laugh at your silence. They may say you are empty, that you are weak for not chasing scraps. Let them laugh. Hunger is a strategy. You are not starving because you have nothing. You are starving because you refuse to be fed by lesser hands. There is a strange shift that happens in time. The same people who once dismissed you will begin to haunt themselves with questions. They will wonder why you never sought their validation, why you never begged at their fire. And soon, the silence you left with them will burn deeper than any words you could have spoken. When they finally see you again, it will not be with pity. It will be with trembling attention. Because somewhere in their marrow, they will know you are not a dog at the door. You are the wolf who chose the cold over the chains. So carry your hunger. Sit in your silence. Do not beg to be seen. Do not kneel for scraps. Power is not in the plea. Power is in endurance. If you must starve, starve. If you must freeze, freeze. But do it standing. Do it with eyes unbroken. Because there is only one truth you must hold in your blood. A wolf that sits in silence is feared more than a dog that begs at every fire. Distance is not an escape. It is a mirror. And when you withdraw, when you vanish into silence, others are forced to look into that mirror. A mirror they secretly fear. In your absence, they no longer see you. They see themselves. And what they find there, gnawing beneath their skin, is resentment. At first, it flickers as irritation. Why hasn't he answered? Why is he distant? But irritation grows into hunger, and hunger slowly mutates into poison. They resent you, yes, but the resentment is never truly about you. It is about the hollowness you make visible when you are gone. Without even trying, you remind them of their dependency. You force them to feel how much of their validation was quietly tethered to your presence. That is why your withdrawal cuts so deep. Your silence is not silence to them. It is a dagger pressed into their reflection. But understand this. Resentment is not weakness if you learn how to endure it. Resentment is obsession's first shadow. The two are bound by the same cage, different faces of the same hunger. If you refuse to break the silence, if you never return to soothe their cracks, the resentment deepens. It festers. And yet, beneath that corrosion, something darker forms. Fixation. They try to bury you with anger, but in the grave they dig. It is their own thoughts that become trapped with you. The world will tell you that silence is kindness, that you owe explanations, that you must soften your distance so no one feels wounded. This is a lie told by those who worship weakness. Every explanation is food for dependency. Every justification feeds the sickness. But one withheld word, one message never sent, one appearance never made, carries more weight than 1,000 speeches. Silence forces them to grapple with the mirror. And in that mirror, their resentment begins to coil like smoke inside a sealed room. Do you see the shift? At first, they called you insignificant. Then, when you pulled back, they mocked your absence. Soon, mockery became gossip. Gossip hardened into bitterness, and bitterness twisted into questions they could not silence. Why can't I forget him? Why does the emptiness sting so much? Why can't I stop circling the thought of him? Resentment sharpens the very edges of the cage they built for themselves. They shake the bars and hate you for holding the key. But it was their need that forged the prison, not your silence. This is the danger of distance. It draws out truths people cannot endure. It reveals the cracks in their pride, the dependency in their affection, the fragility in their strength. And when they confront these fractures, they bleed, and they blame you for being the blade. But you never cut them. They simply wounded themselves on your absence. The strategist knows this. He knows resentment to be a fuel, not a threat. Let them curse. Let them ache. Let them twist in their own thoughts until your shadow is burned into every mirror they pass. The more they claim to despise you, the more they prove your hold. For hate is just obsession infected with shame. Still, there is a warning buried here. The blade you wield is double-edged. If you cut with absence too shallow, they may forget you. But if you cut with silence too deep, they may collapse into ruin, not reverence. Precision is everything. A true strategist does not wield silence recklessly. He sharpens it like a knife, striking at the exact depth where resentment and desire become indistinguishable. Imagine a single message, unsent. Imagine an appearance deliberately withheld. Imagine the distance that grows when you choose opacity instead of explanation. These are not accidents. They are tactics. Each silence is a seed. Each withdrawal is a storm. And each storm leaves behind a field where nothing grows except thoughts of you. Listen carefully. Resentment is not the end. It is the middle. The beginning was comfort. The illusion that they owned your presence. Your distance destroyed that illusion. Then came resentment, the backlash, the bitterness. Endure through that fire, and obsession will be born on the other side. For in their hate, they carry your name more deeply than in their love. Hatred demands remembrance. Bitterness cannot forget. So let them stare into the mirror. Let them let them curse your silence, while dreaming of your return. You do not beg at the fire. You become the flame they cannot reach. The resentment lingers, yes, but behind its teeth waits the hunger that never dies. And that hunger has only one source: you. Power does not come draped in warmth. It does not arrive with banners or celebration. Real power is frostbitten. It is lonely. It demands you outlast the hunger that destroys lesser men. The true crown is not golden but cold, and only those who survive winters within themselves will ever wear it. Most men cannot. They collapse in silence. They beg for the fire. They cling desperately to faces around them, to echoes of comfort, to voices that pretend to soothe. They do not see the trap, that in their rushing back toward the warmth, they chain themselves. They cheapen themselves. They lose all weight in the eyes that watch. But the man who does not break in the cold, he becomes something else. He becomes the storm others measure themselves against. The cold crown rests on the head of the man who refused to return, who endured the night instead of crawling back to the light. This man learns the discipline of absence, the cruelty of restraint, the art of withholding when every instinct screams at him to act. He learns that sometimes conquest is not the clash of steel, but the silence after, when his enemy withers without him raising a hand. Silence itself becomes the frost that burns those who cannot endure it. Have you ever noticed how people unravel in your distance? They begin strong, voices confident, dismissing you as forgettable. But with time, their words waver. The silence echoes louder than any presence. Slowly, doubt stalks them. They wonder, where is he? Why does he not return? Why does his shadow linger, yet his face withdraw? Absence carves itself into their ribs. They choke on the chill you leave behind, and the longer you hold it, the heavier you become in their world. That is the law the cold crown teaches. The memory of what is scarce is sharper than the taste of what is abundant. Most men walk into a room and flood it with noise, with desperation, with endless wanting. They are remembered briefly, like sparks that shine and vanish. But the one who denies, who withholds, whose silence roars louder than words, becomes unforgettable. Scarcity, distance, discipline. These are the threads that weave the crown. Silence is armor. It protects you from the claws of dependency. Nobody can use against you what you do not offer. Nobody can twist words you did not say. Nobody can degrade the presence you never allowed freely. Most beg to be seen, and in their begging, they turn fragile. But the man who does not need to be seen, who carries his fire in secret, he becomes untouchable, like ice that cannot be grasped without burning the hand. Does it feel cold, this path? Of course. But what is coldness, if not proof of survival? Winter crowns the trees that refuse to break under snow. Winter tests the wolf to see if it will last beyond hunger. Winter bends cities, men, nations, and those who kneel before it perish. Only those who endure can stand on the other side and call themselves forged. The cold crown is not a symbol of warmth won. It is proof of hunger endured. You are not meant to be everyone's flame. You are meant to be the frost they whisper of, the one who could not be broken, who refused to kneel. Let others choke on their chatter. Let them scream for validation. Let them waste their bones on endless applause. You wear silence as regalia. You wear distance as throne. The crown you seek cannot be given. It must be taken by the man who outlasts. The man who does not surrender to the gnawing ache of exile. The man who weaponizes scarcity until it shapes an aura around him he does not need to announce. He simply enters a room, and the silence he carried like a cloak shifts the air itself. This is not performance. This is not noise. This is the weight of someone who survived his own emptiness and returned carrying winter in his blood. Remember this: they only obsess over what they cannot control. The gold crown, the loud man, the ever visible, these fade. But the one who withholds, the one who teaches through distance, the one who endures the loneliness that weakens most, that man becomes myth. That is why the cold crown is feared. It is not the ornament itself that terrifies. It is the realization that the one who wears it lived through isolation and chose not to break. That he mastered absence until absence itself became power. That he could walk away, vanish into the storm, never to return, and still live unrattled. Who can fight a man like that? Who can enslave him? Who can command the wolf who has learned to command hunger? Let others chase applause. You chase nothing. Let others beg for fire. You build thrones out of your frost. Let others seek warmth. You learn to rule with silence. Power is not gathered in the crowd. It is gathered in the empty halls, in the nights where only your breath remains. If you can endure those nights, if you can wear your own exile without collapse, then one morning you will wake and feel weight upon your head. Cold, invisible, unshakable. The cold crown. The crown of men who turned loneliness into empire. Every man carries a flame. Some guard it. Most waste it. They throw it outward in sparks. Desperate to be seen. Desperate to ignite the emptiness around them. They feed anyone who asks. Women who mock them. Friends who drain them. Strangers who do not care. They hand out their warmth recklessly, and then wonder why their fire goes out. Why no one respects what burns so easily. But the strategist knows. He feeds his fire differently. Quietly. Alone. He locks it deep within the furnace of his ribcage, adding only the wood he chooses. He does not waste embers, proving himself. He does not spread flame just to be noticed. He lets others feel the heat of the distance, but he never allows them to touch the fire itself. Do you understand what this restraint does to human desire? Everything forbidden becomes divine. Everything ungraspable grows in power. Show them pieces, not the whole. A single spark is worth more than the bonfire of a man who burns for everyone. When they cannot touch what you guard, their hunger spirals into fixation. This is not cruelty. This is design. Think of the king on his throne. Even if his people worship him, they do not sit beside him. They do not hold his crown. The distance, the inaccessibility, is what makes him king. Remove that distance. Let him hand out his crown, his riches, his time too freely, and he is no ruler. He is property. In the same way, your fire loses divinity. When you let them clutch it, it becomes common, ordinary, boring. but the fire that cannot be grasped. That is the fire they pray for, even as it burns them. Human nature is primitive. It craves what withdraws. It obsesses over what refuses to submit. Lovers chase those who ignore them harder than those who worship them. Enemies respect the foe who stays unwounded in silence, far more than the one who screams. This is why the warrior holds distance. He lets them shiver in the cold, just close enough to feel his heat, but never close enough to be warmed. That tension is power. That hunger is obsession. And here is the law most cannot endure. Never hand out all of yourself. Never expose the full blaze. Reveal fragments. Fragments haunt them longer than fullness ever could. A glance withheld weighs heavier than hours of noise. A brief presence, then withdrawal, carves deeper than constant attention. The absence between sparks drives their imagination mad. For imagination is a crueler fire than reality. It burns at night when no one sees. It gnaws when the world falls silent. You must also understand, to guard your fire is not selfishness. It is survival. Once you notice how quickly others devour what you give, you awaken to a darker truth. The world is full of takers, never satisfied. Their hunger is endless. And if you keep feeding, you will bleed yourself dry. They will not thank you. They will leave you cold ashes on the floor. This is why the wolf does not hand out his kill to the pack that mocked him. This is why the flame must be rationed. To protect it is to protect your throne. Restraint is the highest form of dominance. Any man can explode, pour himself recklessly, give everything away. It is rare, it is sacred, to hold back, to let others thirst, but not to quench it, to let their needs sharpen, clawing at their insides, until thoughts of you become inescapable. That is the art of the untouchable fire. So you must ask yourself now, how much of your flame have you wasted in desperation? How many times have you handed away the sacred just to be noticed, only to find yourself emptied, colder than before? And can you endure the opposite? Can you endure holding the flame inside when they beg for it, when their hunger howls louder than your loneliness? If you can, you transform. Your fire becomes more than warmth. It becomes legend. Remember this, true kings rarely step down among the people. They appear briefly, then vanish. A single wave from the balcony becomes unforgettable. Why? Because they cannot be touched. Their fire remains distant. Mystery feeds admiration. Scarcity breeds longing. Obscurity sharpens desire. You must become the same. Step into the world only enough to remind them you exist, then retreat. Let silence swallow you. Their hunger will do the rest. Do not fear their accusations. They will call you prideful, arrogant, selfish. Let them speak. Words are wind. What their mouths curse, their minds worship. For in every complaint lies proof of need. In every resentment lies proof of longing. Whether they call you cruel or distant, one truth remains unbroken. They cannot stop circling you. If you wish for obsession, never hand yourself over freely. Guard your fire. Let them approach the heat, but never touch the flame. They will curse you with their mouths and worship you in their silence. They will hate you, love you, fear you, crave you, but they will never forget you. That is the cost of the fire they cannot touch, and that is its power. To disappear is to declare war without lifting a sword. Most men cannot comprehend this. They think disappearance is retreat. They mistake silence for surrender. But the strategist knows. He withdraws not in weakness, but in design. Each vanishing is a strike. Each absence is an ambush laid in the nervous system of those who once felt certain. When you vanish, you do not erase yourself. You multiply yourself. Memory begins to gnaw at them. The questions creep. Where has he gone? Did he find someone greater? Did he forget me? Why is the silence heavier than his presence ever was? They invent answers you never give. And imagination, once ignited, is a crueler poison than truth. For truth ends the hunger. Imagination feeds it until madness becomes inevitable. That is how the strategist wages war. Not with presence, but with absence that lingers. He lets the silence rot the certainty of others, until even the strongest begin to hear your ghost in their thoughts. Every empty space whispers your name. Every quiet night becomes a battlefield they cannot escape. The body can flee an enemy of flesh. It cannot flee an enemy of the mind. Most men ruin this power by trying to explain. They cannot endure being misunderstood. They cannot bear the resentment their silence creates. So they return too soon. They justify. They crawl back to the noise. And in that moment, their crown crumbles. The disappearance was unfinished. The spell broken. They surrender the battlefield they almost owned, just to satisfy their craving for quick reassurance. Weakness disguised as kindness. But you must learn to endure the unease, to vanish long enough that your absence becomes architecture in their minds, to bury hesitation under iron restraint. Every urge to return early is weakness pulling at your ribs. You must hold the silence until it shapes their reality. That is the difference between a recluse and a strategist. One vanishes to escape, the other vanishes to control. Think of the ghosts that live in your own veins. People long gone who you cannot stop remembering. They disappeared, but their absence cuts sharper than the presence of any who remain. You replay moments, decode silences, drown in imagination. Their absence is a curse resting on you, weighted with questions you will never answer. You see now the power of disappearance. It outlives flesh. It becomes legend. Understand, this obsession is not born in noise. It is born in unfinished stories. When you cut the thread abruptly, when you vanish mid-sentence, you turn a life into an unsolvable riddle. They are left to complete it themselves. But there is no completion. That is what haunts them. That is why you live inside them long after you are gone. The mind cannot bury what it cannot close. The law is simple. Appear briefly. Vanish deeply. Each cycle expands your shadow. At first they doubt you. Then they curse you. Finally, they cannot stop circling the hollow you left behind. When you return, your re-entry is not casual. It is seismic, because the silence gave birth to weight, and they will treat your presence like water to a man dying of thirst. One sip, then withdraw again. Let their starvation grow. This is how obsession is carved. Not in constant supply, not in desperate visibility, but in vanishing that writes your name in fire across their memory. A strategist does not knock down every wall. He disappears until the walls collapse themselves. He does not shout to be heard. He leaves silence so heavy that their own voices break beneath it. Yes, they will hate you for this. They will call you manipulative, cold, inhuman. Let them. Every desperate word is proof of your weight. Do not answer. Do not defend. Strategy does not explain itself to the wounded. You owe them nothing. The silence is the answer. The silence is the blow. To disappear is to haunt. To haunt is to rule. And to rule is never to be forgotten. Ask yourself now, do you have the discipline to vanish when they demand your presence most? Can you cut your voice, your touch, your light, while their hunger claws wild at you? Can you endure your own loneliness long enough to weaponize theirs? This is not retreat. This is patience sharpened into dominance. It is the hardest law to obey, because it feels like loss, but it is the only law that crowns you with control. Remember this final truth. The loudest presence disappears the fastest in memory. The deepest absence lives forever. A man who vanishes is never truly gone. He becomes the silence they cannot escape. The echo that bends every room, the unfinished story that bleeds in every reflection. A man who vanishes writes his name in fire across their memory. Obsession is never commanded by the loud. It never belongs to the desperate, the pleaders, the men who shout their worth into crowded rooms. Obsession belongs to the ones who withhold, to the ones who vanish, to the ones who weaponize silence until it becomes a noose, wrapped invisibly around every mind that desired them. Think carefully. When was the last time you dreamed of someone who never explained themselves? Someone who left, who gave no closure, who disappeared before you could grasp them. You replayed their absence 1,000 times, didn't you? You turned their silence into whole novels in your head. You hated them, but you couldn't forget them. That is the paradox of silence. The very thing that makes you resent a man is the same thing that makes him unforgettable. This is what most never understand. They think obsession is won through constant offerings, through endless presence, through being always visible. always available. But what is abundant loses its weight. Scarcity is what makes the heart tremble. Mystery is what the mind cannot release. The man who is present too often fades into the background. But the man who does not speak, who does not run to every cry, who withholds, he becomes larger in the silence he creates. His absence grows until it fills the room like smoke that cannot be cleared. The wolf who leaves no tracks is always hunted more than the dog who barks at every door. The king who appears only when he chooses shapes more fear than the one who pleads for recognition. Do you see it? Obsession belongs to the silent because silence breeds imagination, and imagination never rests. Resentment, longing, hunger, fear, they all loop endlessly in the minds of those you withdraw from. You haunt them not because you forced yourself into their world, but because you drifted away without explanation. They stab at the void, but voids do not bleed. And every attempt to forget you only deepens the wound, because forgetting requires closure, and silence denies closure. That is why your absence binds tighter than chains. Yes, they will ridicule you at first. They will call you detached, cold, arrogant. They will pretend it doesn't sting. But when they lie awake at night, when every corner of the room echoes with your ghost, when their desperate words fall on hollow air, they discover the truth. Silence is the loudest scream. You must decide now. Are you willing to be hated to be unforgettable? Because that is the trade. To belong to silence is to walk away from praise, from soft comfort, from cheap applause. But in return you gain something sharper. You gain presence without presence, voice without speaking, power without performance, obsession without effort. Every law of nature confirms this. The storm remembered most is not the one that came daily, but the one that struck once and never returned. The scar you cannot stop tracing with your fingers is not the wound that healed clean, but the one that closed jagged and left mystery behind. Absence is the architect of memory. Silence is the sculptor of obsession. And if you endure long enough, endure the loneliness of withholding, endure the bitterness of being misunderstood, you rise into a state most men cannot imagine. You cease to chase anything. You cease to prove, to beg, to demonstrate. You move with restraint so heavy it feels like stone. And in your restraint, in your silence, they crumble. They want more. They need more. And they cannot have it. This is the secret of the crown. The one who is least available is the one who is most desired. The one who speaks least is the one whose words echo longest. The one who can walk away completely is the one for whom doors are flung wide. That is why obsession belongs to the silent. Remember this the next time you are tempted to hand yourself away. Remember this the next time you think you win respect by being everywhere at once. Power is not in chasing. It is in withdrawing. It is in starving them of what they crave until the craving consumes them. You do not need to demand attention. You do not need to prove your worth. If you can endure silence, if you can wear distance like armor, others will crown you with their fixation. Let them whisper your name in hate. Let them curse your silence. Let them call you cruel. It does not matter. Every curse still binds their tongue to your shadow. They cannot hate what they do not think of. They cannot despise what they do not secretly crave. So hold the silence. Sit on the throne absence built, and know this final truth, carved as deeply as steel into bone. The crown never rests on the head of the loudest voice. It belongs always to the man they cannot stop thinking about in his silence.